Hey, it's LSFD here today, and today I'm here to reopen a topic that I've had a few videos about in 2023, and that is auto theft. You all know that I live in Canada and in the Greater Toronto area where auto thefts are on the rise year over year, and it's becoming a problem. Last week, the Canadian government had a summit in Ottawa, which brings together politicians, law enforcement, industry representation, to figure out a unified response to auto theft. And in Quebec and Ontario, auto thefts have roughly risen 50% in 2022 and 35% in Atlantic Canada. The Canadian government announced that they will be putting $28 million into the Canadian Border Services Agency to try and tackle rising rates of auto thefts. The funds are used to enhance the CBSA's ability to detect and search for shipping containers used in transport stolen vehicles overseas. What they're trying to do is really looking at how can they stop cars leaving the country so that if people can't get them out of the country, then the rates probably will be reduced. The government also has plans to ban products like Flipper Zero and similar devices after tagging them as tools that thieves can use to steal cars. Flipper devices, their COO comes back and says that Flipper Zero can't be used to hijack any car, especially the ones that were produced after 1990s. And it's intended for security testing and development, and that they can take necessary precautions to ensure that their devices can't be used for these purposes. So how bad is it? So I've been doing some research on numbers on seeing how things have been increasing. So going to the perspective, police sites pulling out the crime maps and extracting data, and then we're looking at all the auto thieves around some major cities in Canada. So I'm going to start off with the West Coast. I went to Vancouver's police site, and the total number of vehicle thefts was about 736, and that's actually down 19% compared to 2022. So 2023, the numbers were actually not that bad. In 2022, they had 909, and in 2023, they had 736. So from the looks of it, Vancouver's numbers are actually slowly dropping. So what is happening in Vancouver that is telling an opposite story? Then we move over a little bit east, and we go to Calgary. So Calgary numbers have actually peaked in 2022, and it's dropped 5% in 2023. So that's within the margin of error. But then when you look at 2018, it's actually been quite stable and not drastically increasing year over year. So it seems like Vancouver and Calgary are actually quite stable. We move over to Regina. So unfortunately, Regina hasn't released their 2023 crime report yet, so I couldn't get 2023 numbers. But when you look into from 2014 to 2022, when you look at those numbers, they peaked at 2018, and they have slowly gone down year over year. And again, keep in mind that 2020 and 2021, like the pandemic years, it's possibly that those numbers should be lower. But just looking at October to December 2023 numbers that I've been able to get through their maps, it seems to be much lower than previous years already. So with that trend, Regina seems to be also going down in vehicle thefts. We go over a little bit more east, and we're now in Winnipeg. Winnipeg saw a gain of 4% in 2023. So it seems like it's telling a similar story to what the Canadian government is telling, but not at a point where we're saying, oh, it's gone up 30-50%. But again, Winnipeg is probably a little bit closer to the port of Montreal. Maybe that's a reason why they are seeing a little bit of an increase. 2019, they had 3,316 vehicles stolen. So that's still a high number compared to like Vancouver, which is under 1,000. But it dropped in 2020, and that's probably because of the pandemic. And the numbers remain in the 2000s until 2022, where you saw it jump to 3,700-ish. And in 2023, it also went up, now over 3,800. So we're seeing it steadily increase. Now we go over to the Greater Toronto area, the city of Toronto. All right, So from 2022 to 2023, vehicle thefts have actually increased 24%. But if you compare that from 2021 to 2023, it actually doubled. Okay, so you can see that the numbers from 2014 to 2023, I think this is where you're seeing where the major of the problem is. Peel region, which is right beside Toronto, and in 2022, we see 6,402 vehicle thefts. And then 2023, 8,024. And that's an increase of 32%. We go north of Toronto, York region, that's where I live, it saw 42% increase of vehicle thefts. Halton region saw a 57% increase. Durham, which is a little bit more east to Toronto, is 37%. So you can definitely see that the Greater Toronto Area is one of the biggest concerns for the Canadian government, and this is what they're trying to address. We go over to Montreal, and this is going to be the last city that I'll be looking at. And I apologize to the Atlantic provinces because I haven't been able to get that information for your provinces. So in Montreal, in 2023, we're seeing an increase of 20%. And that's similar trends to the Greater Toronto Area, where from 2021 to 2023, it has doubled. And when we look into the January numbers for all these cities, they all seem to be following the same trend of 2023. So looking at the brands, okay, so this is pulled from CBC News and it's saying that the top 10 most stolen vehicles in Ontario, ranking by the number of thefts. Okay, so number 1 is the Honda CR-V, 2020 model year with 2,684 vehicles stolen. Number 2 is the Lexus RX series with 1,707. Then we fall down with the Ram, Toyota Highlander, the Land Rover Range Rover, the Ford F-150 series, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Jeep Wrangler, Honda Civic, and the Acura RDX. Alright, so this is 2022, so not at the peak numbers at this point. You can see that CR-V is the number 1 stolen. Model brands are going to be different depending on where you live because it depends on the location and what models are actually hot and where people live, what vehicle brands do they like to drive. Because if I look at York region where I live, 2022 number 1 stolen brand is actually the Dodge, which is like the Dodge Ram and all that. Number 2 is actually the Land Rover, and Land Rover is actually number 5 in Ontario. Number 3 is Lexus, which is number 2 in Ontario. And then we have number 4 is Toyota. Then we have the Fords. Then we have Honda. Honda is actually much lower on the list. They're number 6 in your region, but the CR-V is number 1 in Ontario. Follow me on Instagram at LSFT Videos. You can see updates on my experience with the NX 450H Plus, which may not be shown on any future videos. You can reach out to me via direct messaging if you have any questions on your Lexus. If you like this video, you can provide me feedback in the comments below, like this video, share it with your friends. This definitely will help with the YouTube algorithms. Press the subscribe button and bell icon and get notified when new videos show up. And lastly, if you want to support me further, you can provide me a super thanks. Or visit my Amazon storefront before you purchase anything from Amazon, or you can purchase products from the list on the items that I've been using with my vehicle or at home at no extra cost to you. And now let's continue with the video. But things get worse for Lexus owners, especially Lexus owners like me who are in York region. Lexus being number 3 on the list of being most stolen, which with 359 vehicles stolen. In 2023, Lexus is actually the number 1 stolen brand in York region with 777 vehicles stolen. Toyota with 691 being number 2. When you look at the breakdowns, like the 777 vehicles that are stolen in York region for Lexus, 88% is actually the RX. 684 are actually RX owners. But definitely something has changed in 2024. All right, so January 2024, when we start crunching the numbers, Lexus has actually dropped a lot. Lexus has actually not been stolen as much as it has from last year. So right now, number one for January, number one is Toyota with 65 vehicles being stolen. Number two is Jeep. Number three is Ram with 49. And then it comes to Lexus, which is 29. So Lexus is now number 4 on the list. But Ford is actually coming quite close with 26. So you can see that the trends are changing, but again, maybe they stole all the RXs available in Markham or in York region so that maybe there's not that many more that you can steal. And people have probably went and changed to another brand as well. Because I'm seeing Mercedes, Acuras are actually getting higher on the list as well. So just to focus on Lexus for 2024 here, 69% is RX. So 20 of the 29 vehicles are stolen is part of the RX series. There's one NX that got stolen, 4 GXs that has been stolen, 1 ES, 2 LX, and there's 1 TX. And the TX is probably one of the ones that we need to be a bit more concerned about. The reason why is it's a brand new model that just came out from Lexus. We know that based on, if you watch my video, the TX does have the Toyota security key, which means that the CAN bus is actually encrypted and you cannot do a CAN bus attack unless it's been hacked already. But at this point, I believe it has not been hacked at this point. So what are the other ways that the TX could have been stolen? One is they can actually smash your windows, get into your OBD port, plug it in, and program a key for it. That is one way that they can steal that vehicle. So unfortunately, I don't know how that TX got stolen, but definitely something that we need to be concerned about as even new generation Lexus owners. One of the easiest things to do is to park your car in the garage when you are at home. I know some people who don't have a garage, but if you do, park it in there. And I know that some pickup trucks or trucks are too big and they won't fit in the garage. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. But if you think of it, the most stolen car is the RX. Don't tell me that the RX does not fit into your garage. It will fit into a standard garage. Alright, most people will actually have tons of stuff in the garage, and maybe it's time to clear it up and put your car in it. Because when you think of it, this will prevent your car from being outside and available for thieves to interact with during the late evenings when there's nobody on the street and everybody is sound asleep. So definitely, if you can park your car in the garage, please do so. The next one is quite obvious. As when I was a kid, my parents has always said, don't leave valuables inside the car. People can see what's in your car, and if they think that it's something that they want, they'll smash your window and get into it. But then car thieves don't even care about that. The next thing that you can do is you can put a steering wheel lock, but again, it's possible for them to cut it off, but it's also delaying them from getting your car out. So they may choose to pick the other car right beside you and not pick your car because there's more work that has to be done. So a wheel lock could actually help in some cases. Another thing that you can do is add an OBD guard or OBD lock to cover the computer port in your car. A lot of cars, even though the Toyota security key is available, when they actually can't get the CAN bus, they will then smash your window, get into your car, and plug into the computer and program a new key for your car. So with that new key, they can drive it off with no problems. All they needed to do is replace that window that they smashed. with an OBD guard or key lock or OBD guard lock, you can actually go and cover it so that there's, again, they need to spend more time to get the OBD lock taken off before they can plug it in and program a new key. I've added this to my vehicle, and stay tuned to this video that I will be producing on how I've installed this OBD guard to my NX 450H Plus. Another technique that some people are opting for is to relocate the OBD port. So they will install a dummy ODB port on where it is before, but then reroute it somewhere else so that when people go in and try to reprogram their key, they're actually plugging into a dummy device. Nothing happens at that point. We definitely know that this may be an issue for some folks, especially if you have a warranty issue. So some people don't do this, but if we can do it with not like alternating what the manufacturer has done when they built the car, that may be an option we can consider as well. Another thing that you can do is use Faraday bags where you can put your key fob in it when you're home so that your key signals do not get transmitted out. So if the thieves are trying to amplify your keys, and there isn't any signal to amplify, so they won't be able to unlock your vehicle or start your vehicle with no signal. I just woke it up, so I'm going to press the lock button once, hold it, and then press the unlock button twice. So press the lock button once, press the unlock button twice. And you can see that it blinked twice. So now this key fob is not sending any signals out, so it's in sleep mode. So for sleep mode, that does not work for the wallet key card. There's no way you can actually sleep it because there's no buttons. So the only way to do that is you put this key card in a Faraday bag or a box. So right now we have a sleeped key fob. So here I have the key fob right beside the car. There's no way to unlock the car. So how do you wake it up? You go and just press any button. So I'll just press the lock button. Now it would be able to unlock the car. All right, so this is one easy way for you to sleep the key without the Faraday bag or the Faraday box. So another thing that people have started to do is they put these AirTags in their cars. Actually, thieves were using AirTags at first. They were actually putting it onto people's cars so that they can locate where they live and be able to then steal it from their driveway or whatever. But then in reverse, you can do the same thing. You can put an AirTag in your car, you hide it from like anything that's visible, and then be able to track where your car is. So you actually have another place, another tool in your toolbox to be able to see where your car is. The car has GPS, but again, thieves can actually tear your interior and then pull out the GPS so that they can actually not get tracked. But then if you have an AirTag, that's something that will happen, that you can actually find where you are. But there is negative sides of AirTags. There's a speaker in there, so if you have an iPhone, you can actually say that I'm in lost mode, and then the AirTag will have an alarm telling you where it is. AirTags are Apple products, so you need to have an iPhone, versus if you're an Android user, that will not work. But that doesn't mean that you cannot have one if you have an Android device. Samsung also creates some of these devices. There are other vendors that do the same thing. So I personally actually have a card like this that is flat, and unlike an AirTag, which is like a button, credit card type is a little bit easier for you to hide. But unfortunately, there is a speaker on the card as well, so if they have to trigger it, they can still help them find where these devices are. Alright, so there are YouTube videos on the market. You can actually find them on how do you remove the speaker from the AirTag so that people cannot trigger it and it will not make any sound. So the AirTags and all these other things that we put in our cars are really DIY devices to help us with really very low costs. But there are systems like Tag, one of them that actually has various numbers of like wireless tracking devices that's installed in the car. The car owner doesn't know, the thieves probably will not know where they are. They don't know how many there are installed as well. So that will actually help track the car anywhere in North America. Some insurance companies are actually asking their insurers to install this or pay $500 more on your insurance. And last but not least, IGLA Systems. If you've actually watched my previous video where an RX owner installed an IGLA system and start voiding the warranty, that's a particular scenario, right? But a lot of people have installed the IGLA system where when they go into the car, they actually press a sequence of buttons in order to actually say that I'm the valid user and then being able to start the car. So definitely something that will prevent thieves from programming a key, even if they have a key. They need to know that combination of the buttons and all that. And I highly suggest you changing it from time to time, because when your thumbs are pressing these buttons, it will actually show markings of you pressing these buttons way more than you normally would. All right, this is a good system to have, but again, cost is also a concern for some folks because they're not cheap. But definitely worth the investment if you live in an area where car thieves are actually extremely high and you cannot park them in the garage. And if you have other ideas of how do you protect your car from being stolen, please leave it in the comments below. I think everybody else will be interested in knowing what you're doing to your car to help prevent your car from being stolen. I hope that you found that this video was informative, and until next video, drive safely. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please comment, like, share this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel and press that bell icon to get notified when new videos are posted. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can provide me a super thanks. And until next time, cheers.